Hi, welcome to Mennonite Farmhouse. I'm Leanne, and if you're new to my channel, I do cooking and baking from scratch, canning and dehydrating videos. And if that sort of thing interests you, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you find value in this video, hit the thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow, and I sure do appreciate it. Well, we're back for another episode of Shelf-Stable Pantry Recipes collaboration, hosted by Mary Ellen at Prepper Potpourri. I'll leave a link to a printable recipe for you to be able to put it in your binder, and I'll leave a link to a printable for your binder cover down below, and a list of all the other participants in this great collaboration. Today we are making Pennsylvania Dutch shoo-fly pie. It's an old recipe from when they didn't have refrigerators and freezers to make a meal. So that's why I find this recipe fits in this collaboration very well. Now let's get started, shall we? This famous Pennsylvania Dutch molasses pie has many variations, but there are three important versions. One is dry, gingerbread baked in the pie shell. It's favored for dunking into coffee. Number two, it's put together in a pastry with alternate layers of crumbs and molasses mixture. And the third is the charm, at least the most important to gourmets, is the wet bottom shoo-fly pie. And that's the one we're making today. Important parts to remember in this historical pie is to level measure out the shortening and not butter to avoid a soggy crust. And work fast once you combine the baking soda and the hot water so you don't lose the leavening properties before the pie reaches the oven. We are using the Farm Journal's Complete Pie Cookbooks recipe for the 10-inch pie crust. And it makes 2 pie crusts. So we're going to need some Crisco, salt, and I'm using pastry flour, and ice cold water. Alright, to get started, I'm going to turn on my scale because I like to weigh things. Call me silly, but sometimes I think to start, I like to weigh my shortening because this recipe is calling for 1 cup and 2 tablespoons. But it might be just easier to weigh, which makes it 215 grams. Because you just don't know if there's air pockets in it. I don't know. I think I tend to worry a lot about stuff like that. So this is how I release my anxiety about it, is just by weighing it. And that way you don't over or under use it. Alright. Then we're going to zero that out. Then we need 3 cups of pastry flour, or 318 grams. And I already zeroed out my scale, so I don't have to guess or do math. 318. Of course it couldn't be perfect. Then we're going to put in 8.5 grams of salt. There we go. Then we're just going to take our pastry blender and cut up the shortening with the flour. And we're going to treat this like biscuits. You don't want to overwork it. And the original recipe is from copyrighted 1965, which means it's over 50 years old. And that says here that my parents actually didn't know each other. That's kind of scary. That my parents started dating in 1966 and got married in 67. They only dated 5 months before they got married. And I told my boyfriend this, at least the last one, and somehow it still took us 6.5 years to get married. But oh well. We got married and we're happily ever after. Alright. You can see that most of the flour is incorporated with the shortening. Then we want 6 tablespoons of water. And you want your water to be ice cold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you might need more. You just have to feel it to It might be the kind of flour you use. I think I'm going to put in a little bit more flour because the recipe was calling for all-purpose flour, I guess. Pie flour has less protein and gluten in it, so therefore it would need more flour with the water to equal to the all-purpose flour. Now I'm going to work it with my hands that are clean. I'm going to use my bowl scraper. Knock down the sides. All right. Now, pie crust always should chill for 30 minutes before you roll it out. I'm just thinking it might need just a tad more flour. Then we're going to saran wrap it and put it in the refrigerator. And we'll be back in 30 minutes. All right, time to roll out the pie crust. All right, you need lots and lots of flour down. When you think you have enough, throw more down. All right. And since we have enough pie crust for two, you cut this in half. And we're just gonna go back and forth and lift up when you get to the edge. And we want about 11 inches round here. And I think that's plenty big. So you just want to make sure it's about 1 inch around. Then you want to slowly fold it in half and lift all at the same time. Where it doesn't look perfect, you just press it together, because that's the beauty of how easy pie can be. So to make your fancy edging, you just want to pinch your 2 fingers along the outside with your index finger and maybe cut the excess off with a knife. Growing up, we always put cinnamon sugar on it and call it poor man's pie, and baked it in the oven, of course. All right, I think I need to slow down and just not worry about the camera and just go along. I don't think I've ever used this pie pan. I have like 7. And I don't even know why. I don't even think I've ever bought one. I know my mom bought me a set of 2 for a bridal shower gift. I'm gonna chill this in the refrigerator until we're ready for it. Let's get our filling made. In order to make shoo-fly pie, there's 2 steps. You need to make the gooey part and the crumb part. So you'll need an egg, molasses, baking soda, and water, which is boiling, but we're gonna boil it here shortly. Then you'll also need flour, shortening, and brown sugar for the crumb part. You can also add spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. Now, in order to measure out molasses, I take the easy way out and just pour 340 grams of molasses into this bowl and I'm gonna weigh it. That way I don't waste any measuring cups. And as I get close, I'm gonna slow down. All right, close enough. Then I'll add my egg and I'll beat that together. Then into my boiling water, we're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. stir that to combine, and we're going to add that to our molasses batter. And mix that together. And when we get the foam on the top, that means we can get our dry ingredients together. We're going to need 1 1/4 cup of flour. 2 tablespoons of shortening. And 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And make sure that's packed. Then you just want to crumble it together. So when it forms crumbs, that means it's mixed well. In Pennsylvania Dutch culture, there are 2 kinds of shoo-fly pie. Just a shoo-fly pie, or it's also known as a wet bottom shoo-fly pie. And we're going to make the wet bottom as we're going to pour this into the bottom of our pie plate. And then the crumbs just go on top. Like so. And you might want to spread it out just a little bit. And this is what it looks like before it goes in the oven. You're going to bake it at 350 for 15 minutes. Then the last 30 minutes you're going to bake it at 300 degrees. There you are, a wet bottom shoo-fly pie, Pennsylvania Dutch style. Now this will keep on the counter for a few days and probably an air container if you can keep it from your husband. And it does freeze well if you want to put it into slices. And what's going to come on the screen now is some videos that I highly recommend you go watch. And God gave you a great day. Now go do something great with it. And after the camera stopped rolling, this is what I found.
All gone.